So our theme for the next 5 weeks on these Wednesdays as we gather together in Lent is the tree of life. And as you saw in the video, Jesus is the tree of life that brings God's life into the world, and we are all invited to become part of it as we follow Jesus, form community, and love all. And so, in this time of Lent, we'll be looking at the core values of our synod, which is our wider church body of God's people here in the greater Milwaukee area. And those core values are how we live when we are fed by the tree of life. Those core values are curiosity, compassion, collaboration, and courage. And I'll come back to these in a minute. But last week, with Ash Wednesday, we started our 40-day journey of Lent as we prepare for Easter. And in today's reading, Jesus also started his own 40-day journey as he prepared for his ministry. And during those 40 days, we heard he experienced this series of temptations. Because there are a lot of false trees out in the world, trees that promise to bring us life when they really don't. And one of those trees is this tree of quick fixes. Because we all know we don't like to suffer, but it's not that we don't even like it. It's like we can't even stand to suffer even just a little bit. We're so uncomfortable with being uncomfortable that we immediately rush to fix it or cure it or some way avoid it. And in Jesus' case, in this first temptation, he's super hungry, and so he's tempted to just turn the stones around him into bread, because he can do it. But Jesus decides not to. He says, I'm going to be okay being a little uncomfortable. I'm not going to rush to fix my hunger just because I can and just to make myself feel a little better. Because life isn't about just avoiding that discomfort. Life is leaning into it, trusting that God is going to be with us. So let's circle back a little minute to those core values: curiosity, compassion, collaboration, and courage. And I think leaning into the suffering and discomfort in our life takes a lot of courage. To be uncomfortable and sit in it, that takes a lot of courage. But it also takes curiosity too. Because for me, when I start to get that uncomfortable feeling, I ask myself what that's about. I get a little curious, right? I ask, why am I feeling that way? What is that about for me? And that's, I found, has been really helpful when I'm feeling uncomfortable. So since Lent is all about practicing some new things, some new disciplines, I want us to try that out for a little bit. So think about a low point. Youth, you kind of know this. We do highs and lows, right? So think about a low for your week, something that happened or whatever, that's something that you would describe as a low. And I want you to get curious about it. Think for a minute why that is your low. I wonder what about it made you feel that way, and what is that really about? And since we're here gathered as a community, let's share with one another. So find someone near you, and you're going to share your low, and you're going to practice curiosity as you share your low, but wondering a little bit what that's about for you. And your partners, you're going to practice courage. You're going to listen to someone describe a low point for their week, and you're not going to rush to cure it or fix it or make it go away. So practice courage in sitting in the discomfort. So find a partner and share. All right, how did that go? Pretty good? A little uncomfortable, maybe? Well, I hope you noticed a difference in your conversation, because I do think that when we are fed from the tree of life instead of our tree of quick fixes, it makes us more courageous and curious, and that makes us better listeners and conversation partners. Now, another of these false trees is the tree of glory. And this is the claim that fame or fortune or likes and followers are the fullest expression of life and affirmation. But Jesus knocks this idea down too, because he's tempted to perform this miraculous stunt of flight to show off how much power he has, but he chooses not to do it. And I think this is because Jesus is showing compassion here, which is another one of our core values, because Jesus cares more about others and using his powers for the good of others rather than his own good and elevating his own status, right? So I want to practice again with our partner. And this time I want you to share a high from your week, so something good that has happened to you. And I want you to think about it and frame it in terms of compassion. And I'll give you an example. So my high for today was that I woke up this morning and knew I was going to have a really long day. And Pastor Drew woke up and made pancakes and bacon and this like really great breakfast for me this morning. So that was my high. But in terms of compassion, right, it was this great act of compassion on his behalf, and it made me really grateful and think about what kind of acts of compassion I could do in family and in other ways. So again, think about your high and try framing it in terms of compassion. So when we are fed from the tree of life, instead of the tree of glory, it moves us to compassion. And there's also one last tree I want to talk to you about. It's the tree of self-sufficiency. And this is that idea that you don't need anyone else, right? That you should strive for independence. And it doesn't really count if you achieve something unless you did it all on your own and you never had to ask for help. But this is a false tree because needing other people doesn't make us any weaker. It makes us stronger. And Jesus' last temptation is about the temptation to be elevated above everyone else, to be worshiped and praised and sole ruler of all. But Jesus knows that he can't go through life alone. In fact, the very first thing he does when he leaves the wilderness after those 40 days is to start gathering his disciples. Because even Jesus knows that he needs friends. And this brings us to our last core value, which is collaboration. We are better together. And we all practice that together tonight. When we are fed from the tree of life instead of the tree of self-sufficiency, we collaborate. And so as we continue on our Lenten journey together, may we be fed from the tree of life so that we too might bring God's life into the world as we practice curiosity, compassion, collaboration, and courage.